Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to my podcast. And this is a new series that I've started, which is called Becoming a PM. And today we have one of LinkedIn's favorite product managers with me. We have Rudra Roy Choudhury, and I've known Rudra since the beginning of his product management journey. I had just broken into product at that time too. So Rudra has been a great mentor through his posts, through all the initiatives that he keeps doing for the product community, and I'm very glad to share some of that energy in our podcast episode today. So welcome Rudra, welcome to this show, and I'm very excited to talk to you about how to break into product management from a non-technical role today.
Yeah, thank you so much for that wonderful introduction, Ketaki. And, really glad to be on your podcast. I know we have been planning these for several months now, and something or the other was coming up, either on my end or your end. But yeah, really happy that finally it worked out. And today we are speaking, and hopefully, through our conversation today, we'll be able to share some, helpful insights with aspiring product managers out there. Yep.
Absolutely. I'm very excited about that too. So, Rudra, as I told you, the title of this episode is Product Management Unlocked, and we are going from non tech to product management. So, I'm particularly interested in understanding more about your journey. I know that you're a product manager at 2B and you're doing a lot of other initiatives in addition to that. But can you talk to us a little about how you broke into PM? What was your journey before, and what attracted you to this field in the first place?
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, I think when you talk about, transitioning from non-tech to product management, I think I am probably like a very perfect fit there because that's exactly what happened for me. So my background was in research, more precisely in biomedical engineering research. Very, very different as you can guess from what I do today, right? So I completed my master's in India initially from IIT Madras, and then I worked in Siemens Healthineers for 2 years in Bangalore, India, and then I was working as R&D engineer back then. Working in the lab, building medical devices and stuff like that. And that's when I really kind of realized that I like the engineering and the research part, but then that is not something that I see myself doing in the long run. And more importantly, I found my interest in the business component, right? So I figured out that, we as engineers or researchers, we are working on these deep problems, trying to figure out innovative solutions and things like that. But at the end of the day, what really matters is, am I solving the right problem for the right customer? And am I able to build a scalable solution that could be catered to the larger market, right? And without all of these, I think it's a failure at some sense, because and this is exactly the reason why, in research labs typically you will see so many publications that come out every single year, right? 400, 500 publications, but hardly one or two out of those 400, 500 publications actually gets converted to a meaningful product, right? And this is exactly a reason, because when you are doing research, it's more like, okay, I have a problem, I just want to figure out some solution, and I do some experiments and that's it, right? But it's not, it will not work like that if you're thinking about a product. So that was my, kind of my time point when I realized that I am more interested in getting involved in a business, and in that aspect of the business where I'm thinking about what product to build, for whom to build, exploring the problem or the pain points at the initial stage, right? Even before we go ahead to build something. So that was my point of interest, where I decided that I want to pivot to product management. Um, so my approach was, I came to the US for my second master's in Cornell, which was a master's in engineering management. From there, I worked in a couple of other companies before joining QB. So I initially worked in HCL as a lead engineer, and then I worked in consulting for 1 year, and eventually last year around June or July is when I transitioned to QB as a product manager. So yeah, that is like, at a high level, that has been my journey in product management.
I'm glad to hear that you joined product management for the right reasons, because a lot of people that I've talked to today, when I ask them why they want to get into product management, the usual answers I hear is, I hate coding, I don't like this. And I know that you wrote a post about this too. But it's very important, before we talk about breaking into product management, it's also important to understand, why do you want to break into product management, and the reason for that has to be something deep and meaningful for your career, rather than just something very superficial where you're trying to run away from a skill, or maybe you don't like your current job. So
Exactly.
what do you have to say about how people can figure out if product management is the right profession for them, and that they're joining this field for the right reasons?
Uh, yeah, that's actually a very interesting point to discuss. So I feel that you do not decide to do something because you hate something else, right? You decide to do something because you feel
You
the
like
love for doing that,
it.
right? That's the first thing that people should realize when they're talking about product management. I think at the initial level, definitely do a lot of research, talk with people to really understand what product management is, right? I've spoken with a lot of people who knows the term very well, and some of the perks, so-called, that comes with this term, but they hardly have much idea around what exactly product management is, right? Or what you are expected to do in this role. Um, so I think that is the first point to start with. That understand more about product management, what goes behind product management, what your role will be as a product manager, what are the kind of things that will do day to day, right? So that is one point. The other point I feel is that you have to. I know there is technical product management and there is non-technical product management, and I will probably not say that everybody has to really be like familiarized with the technical part very strongly. Probably that is not the case but like there are product manager roles out there for which you don't really need to be technically very strong.
Yeah.
But I think in general, what is needed, irrespective of whether it's a technical or non-technical PM role, is your passion for building products to solve challenges, right? That is at the core. Whether it's a technical product, non-technical product, that's the second layer. But at the core, are you someone who is interested to brainstorm and figure out that, okay, these are the challenges I have, and then
What is
prioritize from there that, okay, this seems to be the most impactful challenge. So I want to solve this, right? And solving this will create this impact on my business. So I think that is really like the core. And a couple of other things you really need to understand well. So one will be definitely like, are you curious enough to talk with different people, right?
Yeah.
Because that's one of the primary things we do as a PM, right? I mean, you are talking with customers who have probably no clue of the technical part, or even like, as a matter of fact, there will be many stakeholders as well who also has no clue of the technical part, but they will be only like, at a very high level talking about, okay, this is what we want as output, right? And then it's your job as a PM to figure out that, okay, these are my high level requirements for the customers and stakeholders. So how to convert them in the engineering sense, right? And then you take that to your engineering team. So talking with different people and just being empathetic enough so that you are talking in the right language to the right people. I think that is something that's very important as a PM. Otherwise, there's a chance that you might get frustrated. For example, I might come from an engineering background, but I cannot expect that the way I'll talk with the engineer will be the same the way I will talk with someone from marketing or sales, right? So I think that is the important thing to understand. The other thing I'd say is that, in product management, I feel that there will be a lot of situations where you are kind of, jumping with multiple products, right? So to have that sense of prioritization, and how exactly you rank some products more than the above, right? Because many a times what happens is that if you apparently see, it feels like all products are P0 or high priority, right? But that is exactly not the case.
Mm-hmm.
So if you do that deep dive, you will understand that, okay, like maybe there are only one or two products which are really P0 and the others can be P1 or
Mm-hmm.
P2, something like that. So I think these are some of the key things that I would ask people to consider and think about, even before they decide that I want to apply for product management.
Yeah, I think that's a very good answer. And if I try to summarize what you've just mentioned, there are 3 points that stand across. One is that PMs have to be like dreamers. They have to be ready to explore the solution to a problem and they have to be passionate about solving that business problem. Second is they have to be able to prioritize amidst the juggling priorities that they might have. So if they have multiple tasks on their plate, multiple deliverables on their plate, they should be able to navigate through ambiguity and decide a direction on this. And definitely communication skills, I would say, is the biggest skill that a product manager can have, where you have to like meetings, you have to like having interactions with other people, because that's how you get a lot of ideas about how you build a particular product. So
Correct.
thank you for sharing that. And now I'm very interested to particularly talk about the biggest myth that surrounds product management, which is you need a degree in computer science to become a product manager. And there are many product managers who have broken into this field from non-technical backgrounds, but they still feel like they are not good enough because they keep comparing themselves with the technical product managers. So
Mhm.
since you've broken into product from a non-technical role yourself, what do you have to say about this, and how do you suggest people navigate through this?
Yeah, so like the short answer to your first question is that no, you do not need a CS degree or a degree in software engineering or anything as such
Mm-hmm.
to break into product management. Um, there are some roles though
Mm-hmm.
which can be very, very specific to a particular technology, and I'd say that it might be a little bit beneficial for you if you already have some prior understanding in that domain. So let's say, for example, uh, there can be a machine learning product manager, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the company will probably expect that you have some basic understanding of machine learning,
Yeah.
that will help in the role. But
Mm-hmm.
otherwise, I think that those kind of roles are very, very limited. If you
Mm-hmm.
look at the overall industry, most of the product management roles are general, in the sense that you can come from any background, but if you have that curiosity to to think through problems, if you have that habit of brainstorming and figuring out solutions and figuring out scalable solutions, and some of the other things that we talked about in during the previous question, like
Yeah.
habit of talking with people and things like that,
Mm-hmm.
it can become a product manager. It's not like a out of the world thing,
Mm-hmm.
even though there's a lot of hype around this role, I know. But yeah, anybody can become a product manager. You just have to have that basic product mindset, and and that thought process of how do I identify a problem and then figure out a solution to that problem. I think that's all that is required for most of the product management roles.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I'm sure a lot of us are relieved to just hear that sentence that it's not a necessity, which is the reason that I made this podcast episode with you, because I feel like I keep getting these questions every now and again when I try to mentor people around product management. And this is the first question that they ask me when they don't have a technical background. So it's good to know that this is not a prerequisite, and that depending on the background that you come from, you can capitalize on the strengths that you have built in the previous role and bring that to product management with a unique perspective.
Yeah.
So, having said that, with that as the foundation, what are the strategies that you undertook to break into product management from the non-technical role?
So I think there are a few small things that I did or that I changed within me that helped me to
Mm-hmm.
break into product management. But I think at the core of all of that, what I tried to do was basically build a product mindset, right?
Yeah.
And everything is basically a part of that, right? Because the way we work or the way we think as an engineer is
Mm-hmm.
very, very different from the way we work as a
Yeah.
product manager, right? So I think that was the primary challenge to be solved for me. Uh, and then if I go into the smaller pieces, so
Mm-hmm.
that would mean, right, starting from how am I talking with people while networking, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I know for a fact in my initial few calls with recruiters or hiring managers for PM roles, I will end up blabbering like, minutes after minutes talking on some very deep technical stuff, right? Because that's what I've done before coming here, right?
Yeah.
Only after several, like, rejections, I realized that, okay, maybe whatever I'm saying, in general, it's all good, but then this is not what the other person really wants
Looking.
to do for
Yeah.
this role, because it's not required for this role.
Mm-hmm.
So that is one thing that I changed within me, which is like, how do I communicate with people, whether
Mm-hmm.
that's for a job role or that's for networking in general or anything.
Right.
The other thing that I changed, of course, was and when I understood that how I communicate with people needs to be changed, that automatically kind of translated to changing my resume as well,
Mm-hmm.
which was very technical heavy till one stage, and slowly it converted to more of talking about the business side of the work
Yeah.
that I've done. So that those were the two things. Then, of course, preparing for interviews is one thing that helped me a lot, I would say, to break into product management,
Mm-hmm.
because till one point I was of the idea that uh, I can use my common sense to solve any problem, right? And which maybe, like, in general, is not a wrong statement to make. I
Mm-hmm.
feel that anybody, me, you, anybody can solve a problem, using common sense, right?
Yeah.
But the I mean, the main point here to catch is that you need to kind of approach the problem in a certain way
Mm-hmm.
when you are interviewing for a product manager role. I know there is a constant argument in the market where, there's a set of people who talks about, like, there are these different frameworks that we
Mm-hmm.
need to kind of learn in order to answer these questions. There's another set of people who say that no, frameworks are not helpful, etc., etc.
Mm-hmm.
If you ask me personally, I would say that frameworks are helpful, because especially for people who are not aligned with this
Yeah.
domain, right? Because frameworks definitely help you to structure your answer.
Mm.
um, so frameworks are helpful. It's just that you cannot be over dependent on a framework.
That's true.
So the way, like, anybody, when someone asks me, what I suggest them is that learn the framework, but don't kind of like memorize to that extent where you don't have the capability of thinking anything outside of that, right? So the framework should be more of like a guiding structure,
Mm-hmm.
but at the same time, based on the particular problem that you are solving
Mm-hmm.
in an interview, you also need to be able to think outside of the box. So but yeah, I think in general, preparing for interviews, and just being familiarized with the different frameworks and how the approach should be, that is something that definitely helped me a lot. And other than that, I feel that even in general conversations, and this is not restricted only to interviewing, but I think I slowly started to think everything more from a product angle,
Right.
right? uh, it can be about my previous work, it can be the work that I was doing at my current company at that
Mm-hmm.
point, right? So I started to approach everything more from a product angle.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that probably did not have like a very very tangible impact, if I have to say. But at somewhere in the back end, I can say definitely had some impact, because it changed my thought process. And I could feel that slowly and slowly, as I was talking with more and more people, I was becoming more confident, right?
Right.
I mean, at some point, till some point, it was more like I have trained myself that, okay, this is not
Mm-hmm.
how I am supposed to speak. This is how I am supposed to speak to sound like a PM. But
Mm-hmm.
gradually, I could feel that transition happening within myself, where I was now more naturally
Subconsciously
talking
thinking about it.
in
Yeah.
a product angle. So I
Mm-hmm.
think, yeah, these were some things that definitely helped me to make the transition.
I think, and this is a great action plan for anyone trying to break into product when it seems overwhelming, because the first thing you have to do is think about your past experience and how it's relevant to product management, as you said, where you have to tweak your resume in that in that way so you can get more interviews. And then it's about the little things that you can do every day to adopt a product mindset, and to build product sense by thinking about all the products that you're using, all the interactions that you're having with people around you, and constantly thinking like a product manager. So thank you for sharing that. And I think now I also have another, I want to break another myth related to product management, which is the next question that I have for you, which is people often think that an MBA is necessary to become a product manager, especially when they are coming from a different background that has nothing to do with product management. And then they feel like MBA might be my bridge to gaining the business knowledge and then practicing it in the industry. So, what do you have to say about the necessity of an MBA when it comes to breaking into product, and all of this from again a non-technical role?
Mhm. Yeah, this is a good question, and I'm actually going to like provide two answers to this. So one is specifically for the US market,
Mm-hmm.
and the other one will be probably for the Indian market, because
Sure.
I think things happen a little bit differently in India compared to
Mm-hmm.
US. So for the US market, it's absolutely not necessary.
Okay.
If you have, let's say, I mean, I can, let's say my example, like I already had technical engineering degrees. I was looking to transition from India to US,
Mm.
and I wanted to come through like academia.
Right.
And at that point, it made total sense for me to pass through something in the management domain,
Mm-hmm.
because it didn't make any sense for me to again come for an engineering or technology degree, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
So in these kind of situations, I think it's well and good if you plan to do an MBA to make that transition.
Okay.
But if you're saying that no, I'm already, let's say I'm working in the US, I want to move to product management,
Mm-hmm.
I need to do an MBA? Absolutely not. MBA is not required. In the Indian market, however, as far as I know, um, I think there's some like, unwritten bias where people go by degrees and exactly what kind of backgrounds, people come from. It's
Mm-hmm.
not so flexible as it is in the US or some
Mm-hmm.
other countries. So in India, probably like, a MBA might be still required. I'm not exactly sure on that, but I think there can be some. I mean, I know a few of my friends who are
Mm-hmm.
really, really like very thorough in their work, and they are currently
Pursuing.
doing an MBA just for
Mm-hmm.
transitioning. But in US market is absolutely not necessary.
Okay, so according to you, it depends on, I don't think there's a one size fits all answer here, but it depends on that person's background. So if they're already pursuing work in the US, if they already have work experience in the US, an MBA might not be necessary, and they could rather use that time towards learning more about product management and practicing it in the industry, right? Because I feel that as a role, product management is more about the mindset. As you said, it's also about learning the skills as you go by putting yourself, immersing yourself into those situations where you're brainstorming a solution to solve a problem.
Yeah,
And maybe you can't learn that theoretically by doing a degree. So if the
absolutely.
degree,
And
yeah, so if the
and
degree helps you to transition, well and good, you can do it, but it's not an absolute necessity that this is the only path to break into product management, right?
no, and I do feel that like I'm nothing against degrees or anything, but then I do feel degrees are overhyped. I
Mm-hmm.
personally have no doubt about that. And I also feel that what you can learn through hands-on experience, you cannot learn through whatever the degree might be, whichever the university might be, doesn't matter. But you cannot learn through academia
Mm-hmm.
what you can learn by doing something hands-on. So I generally tell people that okay, if you are like struggling to make that transition
Mm-hmm.
and you want to like learn about product management, don't spend time doing a 1 year or 2 year course in some XYZ university.
Right.
Rather try to talk with your manager at your current company,
Mm-hmm.
or do some volunteering work,
Mm-hmm.
something that gives you hands-on experience of product management, because that is going to be valued much much more compared to your 1 year or 2 year MBA, that's for sure.
Yeah, I think that's a great point because one of the easier ways to break into product management is to internally switch into that role at a
Exactly.
company, which is something that I did too. But that transition which I did was from India to the US. But I still feel like because I had the domain knowledge and I was working with the same team for a couple of years, it was easier for me to make that transition rather than directly interview with external companies. So if there is an opportunity for anyone to do that, it's highly recommended that you first search within your company, get a sense of what this role has to offer, and then decide if this is the career for you and pursue the next steps. So I think that brings me to the end of all the questions that I had for you, Rudra. But I do want to take this opportunity to promote the book that you're writing about how someone can break into product management. And I know it's going to be a great resource for anyone who is going to try and understand more about product management role and determine if it's a right fit for them. So talk to us about that book. What gave you the idea to write that book, and when is it coming to the market?
Yeah. So the book is called I Am the Next PM.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have co-authored this book with two other peers of mine, Shalini, Dinesh, and Akanksha Kumari.
Mm-hmm.
So, really the starting point of how this idea came to my mind was that I've been like doing mentoring for quite some time now, and I've been talking with several aspiring PMs, people from different backgrounds who are trying to break into product management. And over that course, one common pain point that all three of us realized was that right now you have fragmented pieces of information available at different places.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, you have some information on interviews in YouTube, you have some information on resumes in
Mm-hmm.
some website. There are some books also available, of course, where you have some of this information, but what we did not find, and even this like aspiring PMs, they did not find, was a one-stop solution where you have the end-to-end user journey captured, right? So what I mean is that what we are discussing, right? Okay, applying for PM is coming later. Even before that, how do a candidate understands if PM is going to be the right role for him or her, right? So our starts right from there, exploring the PM role by someone who is trying to break in. How does that person evaluate that if PM is the right fit for him or her or not? We talk about resumes and interviews and all these things. We talk about negotiating salary. We talk about how to choose the right company, assuming if you have multiple, offers.
That's a very important decision.
Yeah, that's another important topic.
Mm-hmm.
And then we finally conclude by talking about, now that you got the PM role, that's
What do you do next?
step one, but how do you set yourself up as a new PM, right? And I think this is something that can be particularly challenging for people who are coming from diverse backgrounds. Or, like we already discussed at the initial stage of this conversation, that how you operate as a PM is very, very, very different than how you might have operated as an engineer, as a researcher, as any other role, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the final section of our book.
So I'm going to share a link to that book in the description below. And I'm also going to wish you good luck for all the initiatives that you're doing for the product community and with the book particularly. Thank you so much, Rudra, for sharing everything with us today. I know that you recently got your O1A, you were recently the top product management voice on LinkedIn, and you have many other feathers in your cap. But it was very nice talking to you about your passion for this field through this podcast interview.
Absolutely. I think it was like a lot of fun talking with you. And I just want to tell everyone that, B.tech has been praising me a lot, but I also want to feedback that B.tech is also an amazing person doing a lot of things for the product community. She has a YouTube channel where this is being recorded right now. And apart from that, I think we're also speaking at the upcoming ESC, right?
Yes.
So yeah, I think you have also been doing an amazing job, and I'm just lucky. I feel that that we are connected, and probably will get more opportunities to collaborate in the future.
Absolutely.
So it was absolutely a lot of fun talking to you today.
Looking forward to that. And I'm also going to link, people can get your mentoring sessions on Kriya. So I'm going to give a link to that platform in the description so that everyone can gain that opportunity and talk to you about certain ways that they might have. So thank you again, Rudra, and hope to collaborate with you again.
Thank you.